So Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2 has been delayed by an entire year and will now release on the 2nd of October 2026. After going through several comments on this new development, I came to realize that most fans seem to have no problem with the new release date of The Batman 2. They seem to believe that the new administration under James Gunn and Peter Safran do not want to rush things, unlike the previous management who was responsible for the downfall and eventual death of the now dysfunctional DCEU. Before I share my own personal opinion on this particular matter, let me first share a very interesting fact. Ever since the release of Todd Phillips' Joker in October of 2019, not a single DC live-action movie has been able to maintain its original official release date. And despite all these drama behind the scenes, I think we all know how well the last few DC movies eventually turned out to be. Since 2018, not even a single DCEU movie was able to make a mark at the worldwide box office, which is very disappointing to witness as a lifelong fan of DC Comics. Now, let me tell you that I am not actually trying to say that the delay of The Batman Part 2 is an absolutely wrong decision. I am only trying to share with you the bitter truth and ground reality of the current state of the DC franchise. But that is not the only reason why I decided to come up with this video. I have a much bigger concern to address, which you need to understand to figure out the main problem with the current state of DC movies and the future prospect of James Gunn's DC universe. Before I share my thoughts on this whole scenario, I am just going to ask for a small favor from all of you. Please spend 1 second of your time to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, because that is the only motivation for me to bring you more and more such awesome contents. Okay, with that, let us dive right into the main subject. Before we come to The Batman Part 2, let us first talk about James Gunn and his plans for the DC multiverse of live-action movies going forward. James Gunn as of right now is in Norway, where he is reportedly filming scenes for his much-anticipated upcoming movie Superman Legacy, which releases in just about a year from now. This movie, as you know, is going to kickstart a fresh new DC live-action cinematic universe, which is going to be managed by an organization called the DC Studios. Superman Legacy is going to feature a ton of characters from the world of DC Comics. The introduction of such a large number of iconic characters in the movie gives us the impression that James Gunn wants to waste no time to build up the foundation for expanding his universe into a major cinematic franchise. And that is something which I totally appreciate and makes me excited. But I personally believe James Gunn's vision has a major problem, which is in fact very similar to what eventually led to the death of the now dysfunctional DCEU. I actually believe the DCEU was never truly able to take off because of two very important reasons. The first is of course the fact that I personally could never sense the presence of a clear long-term vision in case of the DCEU. The movies within that universe had a severe lack of interconnectivity, and I never at any point could figure out what Warner Brothers really wanted to achieve with the franchise. The second reason is that Warner Brothers almost seemed like they lacked a certain sense of aggression and passion in their commitment towards the DCEU. Despite having full copyright control over a character like Superman, who arguably is the most popular character in pop culture, WB for some reason felt it was more important to make a TV show on a character like Peacemaker rather than making a sequel for Man of Steel. The same can also be said for Batman, who along with Superman is the most popular superhero character of all time. In fact, the case with Batman is even worse because the DCEU did not even bother to give the character a solo movie of his own during its entire lifetime of almost a decade. And if you look at the first phase of James Gunn's new universe, the scenario looks very similar. If we leave out Superman Legacy, almost all the other projects are based on lesser-known C-list characters like Booster Gold, Creature Commandos and The Authority. I can unfortunately almost sense the exact same lack of aggression in James Gunn's vision, which ultimately led to the death of the Snyderverse. It almost gives me the impression that Warner Brothers are too scared to risk investing money on big-budget movies on their most popular characters. On the contrary, if we look at the first phase of the MCU, the franchise turned out to be so successful because it literally wasted no time to introduce their biggest characters from the very beginning and managed to give us 4 big Avengers movies in the same span of time as the entire lifetime of the DCEU. Hell, even if we look at a much more smaller and recent franchise like the Monsterverse, despite being just about moderately successful at the box office, the franchise definitely seemed to be willing to invest money and take necessary risks. And, if we look at the excitement among fans and view count on the upcoming Godzilla x Kong movie, the aggressive approach definitely seems to be working well for the franchise. If we look at the last 5 years once again, the only DC movies that managed to achieve some degree of commercial success was Matt Reeves' The Batman and Todd Phillips' Joker. And quite interestingly, both these movies were not part of the DCEU, which once again reflects the lack of a clear long-term vision as well as a strong aggressive approach. Even though these two movies worked pretty well at the box office, you have to realize that instead of finally giving us a big-budget science fiction Batman movie featuring aliens and metahumans, WB decided to go with a much more grounded approach. This clearly reflects their lack of confidence and ability to take calculated risks at the right moment. Well, let me inform you that I am not in any way trying to say I did not enjoy watching Matt Reeves' The Batman. You would be surprised to know that The Batman is actually my absolute favorite superhero movie of all time, and I rate the movie even higher than The Dark Knight. And that is exactly the reason why I am so disappointed with the huge year-long delay of its sequel. In my personal opinion, the only reason behind the delay of this movie is that The Batman Part 2 was supposed to release in the same year as that of Superman Legacy. James Gunn, I believe, does not want anything to take away the focus and attention away from his Superman movie, which is why he eventually had to take that call. And this is exactly the reason why I am so concerned about James Gunn's approach, because he clearly seems quite insecure and underconfident, pretty much like the management before him. So, that is all I had to share in this video. Do let me know your own thoughts on this whole situation in the comments down below. And please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.